Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. If you are hearing me, can you please raise up your hand or just tap and say we are hearing you or I am hearing you, so I can make sure that my video is okay. Okay, you hearing me? That's right. Thank you. Trying to still trying to setting up here. We have uh about 10 more minutes or 7 more minutes. So we're just making sure we are setting everything to get ready. Within 7 minutes, our classmates will be on and we will get started. We want to welcome you to class as we get started today. This is your third section, July 18, 2023. So we'll be starting in 6 minutes. Just get set. I will ask you to get a pen and paper. Those of you who came early, get a pen and paper so you can take notes. And as you study your book, you may have some questions. You may have some questions that you need to ask. So get your questions out that you can ask today. We will be starting very soon. All right. All right, we will soon be starting, folks. Uh, Couple of minutes. We are just waiting for the time and our classmates to join us. We want to say thank you uh, for spending your evening, your night, and your morning with me wherever you are uh, in this diplomatic training institute. We are very glad that you have made a commitment to your studies. Uh, it's, it is important to understand your diplomatic roles and functions, and for you to do effective work in the field of diplomacy everywhere around the world. You need training. It breaks my heart to see a lot of institutions uh, having conferences and just calling people, with titles and giving them different type of offices in our diplomatic sector or the industry of commitment to serving people, yet they are not trained into the area of diplomacy. But we thank you for your commitment to the future diplomats School of Diplomacy and International Studies. We believe that you make a great improvement and advancement in your career. I'm glad that you're part of us, and it's because of you we are here. This training is dedicated to the men and women who have committed themselves to the field of diplomacy. What a joy that fills my heart to find people from all around the world coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays, committing themselves to this section of training, preparing yourself for your future and what lies ahead of you, your career, your family, your country, everything in the world look up to you. So we are so much excited about this training section. We will begin our section. Uh, let's give 2 more minutes. Uh, let's see who's going to come on. Maybe a minute, 1 more minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ernest Gibson. Uh, I'm going to be your presenter, your instructor, or professor, however you can call for the day. We will spend some time again today diving uh, into your course, introduction to diplomacy, and you all understand uh, that you should be having your course book, and the course book is Diplomacy in the 21st Century, and this book was written by Diplomas in the 21st century, and the book was written by Paul Sharp, Sharp, Paul Sharp. You also need to have your study guide. Uh, your study guide uh, comes with the course book. Again, it's the same thing. The study guide was developed by me uh, to give students the opportunity to interact with your course material. When you read the study guide, the first thing you're going to see at the beginning is the introduction to that chapter. It tells you what the expectation of the course writer and me as your instructor will be looking for from you in that coursework. So you have to read the chapter uh, very seriously, pay attention to everything within the chapter. Don't overlook anything in your book and your study guide because those things should be found on your final test. Again, do not overlook anything in your study guide and your course book. Questions will be from both the study guide and the course book into your final exam. You have to pass the final exam to complete your course. When the final exam is passed, then you have successfully completed the course. If you fail the final exam for the first time, you'll be given the second opportunity to take the exam. If you fail the exam, you have two times you have to repeat the course. You have to start the course over. Again, listen to me. Read everything in your textbook, everything in your study guide. I am available at any time to help you up with questions, with places in your study guide or your course book you don't understand. Reach out to me. I'm here to help you be successful in your career and within your studies. Everything again in your study guide and textbook should be taken very seriously because everything will come in your final exam. Those of you who just getting on, I said if you fail this final exams for the first time, you'll be permitted to take it for the second time. When you take the final exam for the second time, you pass. Congratulations, you have completed your course. If you fail the test for the second time, you have to do if you fail the final exam for the second time, you have to repeat the course. There's going to be no exception. There's going to be no exception. So please do that. Next thing I want to talk about will be your assignments. Many of you send in your assignments to me already. Look, I got hundreds of assignments, spending sleepless nights creating your papers. Many of us did not do well in our assignments. I don't know. I don't know if you are taking the school for granted or you just think it's just it's online, and so you're just going to submit any paperwork to us because we're going to maybe just pass you to give you your credentials and your ID card, or maybe you think that we have a lot of students that will not paying key attention to each student work that you submit to us. You are making a mistake. Hundreds of papers that I see I'm grading. Some of you have not returned your assignments back. I'm not returning your assignments to you yet because I'm still grading some of your assignments. I have returned most of you have returned some of your assignments. So you need to check your email if you are not if you're not received is and you have not realized that you have gotten an email from us. Couple of things on your assignment. Please do not go on the internet, collect information, and just send it to us in that assignment. We understand that we make research ourselves, understand that we uh, cross reference your assignment and the places you took your information. And we want your information to be valid. We want to see that you're contributing to your coursework. So my advice to you is that if you read something from the internet, or if you read something from in your book, you Google something, whatever it may be, and someone provides you an answer to that question you're looking for, why can't you take your time, digest uh, the answer you got from Google, or digest the answer you got from the book, or wherever you took it from, and rewrite that answer or rewrite those sentences in your own words? Why always try to, someone say, I beg you, intelligence, to resubmit? Did you, sir? I beg your indulgence to resubmit my assignment because I made mistake while sending it, please. Well, forgive me. You are forgiving for your assignment, whatever the date of the submission, initial submission is over. If I graded your assignments, there's an exception, and the exception is if I graded your assignment and I send it back to you and I say fail, you can resubmit the assignment. You can do the assignment and you can resubmit it if you want to get a passing grade on that assignment. And if I also graded your assignment and I never said fail nor pass, but I put comment on your assignment, it also tells you that you have to redo it and send it if you want to be a passing grade. Because if we don't receive an update from your assignment that has been graded, your the grade, whatever grade you got, whether pass or fail, will remain on your record if you choose not to resubmit the assignment that we have sent back to you with the comments so you can work on. Two, some of you, I just wrote, I never sent your assignment back. I just said fail. Reason being, some of you who have never sent your assignment back, you send your assignment a day. Some of you send a day and a half, and some of you send your assignment like yesterday. Come on. Your assignment was due on Sunday night, 11:55. If you send your assignment uh, after that time, we will know. There'll be a stamp mark on your assignment when you send it to us. The system will tell us when you send your assignment. Some of you send your assignment 24 hours after the due date. We cannot accept assignments 24 hours, initial assignment 24 hours after the due date. If you are resubmitting, then we can accept because you are resubmitting. But initial assignment should be sent to us before the cutoff time. No exception, my friend. This is an institution. It shows to us that you are critical to details, you're paying attention, or and you are care. Some of you to us just don't care. So it is understand. Oh, somebody has said hello, Pastor Gibson. It's oh, Janice. I see. That's one of my spiritual daughters. I was wondering to say who called me Pastor Gibson in this training. Who knows me to be Pastor Gibson? Not apostle, but anyway, not ambassador, but anyway, Janice, you are welcome, and welcome to everyone who's sending notes. So, but if you are sending your assignments again, I said there is no exception. uh there is no exception. All right, like you said, you're saying that you never receive a feedback. Yes, if you never have not received a feedback from us, and if your assignment was submitted on time, you'll definitely get a feedback. Um, I may try to just give one assignment today, or maybe one or two assignments today, or no assignment at all, because I want you to focus on the assignment that you have not done well, to focus and do it well. Your assignments going to worth your assignment and your person in class going to worth 30% of your final grade. So we check in who are attending class on time, and leaving class on time, not before our section. So that your attendance and your assignments worth 30% of your final grade, and your final exam worth 70% of your final grade. You have to score 80% in your final exam to pass. not 60%, not 70%, not 75%. You have to score 80% in your final grade to pass. It makes it makes me to understand that you master the material, and you are going to get your credential as an ambassador with us. Uh, Again, I'm talking about the assignment. I would take time talking about your assignment because it's critical. Uh, I was saying if you collected something from the internet or from the book, which of course many of you did, from the assignments that I have created, and I know where you got some of the informations from. Those information from, I was able to know how you got them. Some of you got them from the book, without giving the author of those work their credit. In the school and in academia or the academic setting, it is unacceptable if you are getting information from someone who have done their work. You have to give them credit for the work. You have to have inside citation. I don't know if any one of you, every one of you know what an inside or citation is. You have to cite inside of your coursework or your paper, the name of the main of the book. For instance, you can say, after what what Paul Sharp has said, you can put a parenthesis, uh, uh, Sharp 2020, for instance, 2027, the time the material was written, Sharp 2027, parenthesis closes, so that we can know that 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 quotation or that entire sentence is not yours. It's a sentence that Paul Schack had made or has said, or another author has said, and you're trying to put that in your assignment. Do not claim it's your own word and do not own it. Uh, uh, Plagiarism, that is why it called, and in simple sense, it's called stealing. You're stealing someone's information and claiming it's your own information. So don't 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 present a nice work and you claim that you wrote it yourself, or those are your information you're providing to us without giving the author the credit for where you took some of your information from. It's unacceptable in an institution like this. Other institutions may accept it, but we will not. We have to give. You cannot own someone's work. Present it to your professor and say, "This is my own work." Uh, some of you went into the book and online, and there's a writer that said, let me give an example too of something else. There's a writer that said, diplomacy is is sugaring the pill, pill. What do you mean that diplomacy is to sugar a pill? You did not explain. You did not give us any example, and you did not tell us whose quotation, who was that? Took it from the book, right? What anything you put in your work that sounds like that, you have to explain what it means. That when the author said diplomacy is sugaring a pill, right? I want to understand that you understood what you wrote and you can explain or break that sentence to me and with explanation and examples. It makes me to understand that you understood what you were writing and you understood what the writer meant. Another thing about your assignments, most of you tap tap your assignment, but you tap your assignment into bullet points. You know, bullet one, bullet two, bullet three. Come on, come on, don't do that. We want you to express yourself through your assignments. Look at folks, I've taken almost 25 minutes just talking about your assignment. How important it is. We want you to express yourself in and through your assignments. So do not give me bullet points. Write constructive sentences, right? Constructive sentences. Answer the answer the questions in a constructive grammatical way And that should be flow. That should be flow in your answer so we can understand. Do not give him bullet points in your in your in your answers to your test question. Question one, you put bullet points, and then come to question two, bullet point. For instance, define for instance, what did we say? Define diplomacy, for instance. Uh, and then you went and just you said definition of diplomacy is bullet point one, bullet point two. Come on, give us give us complete sentences and do not give us bullet points for your assignment. All right, want to understand that you master the material and you are presenting to us as your professors your answers. There are a couple of points that I took. I cannot take all again on Thursday. Uh, I will be talking about a couple of the assignments. Again, I cannot take all of the time. I'm just talking about your assignment. But make sure your assignment is important. It worth and your assignment in your present in class worth 30% of your final grades. You have to pass the assignments and be present in class to really pass this course because it will worth 30% of your assignment. Uh, Yeah, someone asked errors to be corrected in our assignment. Yes, you have errors to be corrected in your assignment. Correct those errors. If you want to get a passing grade, correct the errors, and you can send your assignments back to me. Now, when you resubmitting your assignment, please change the subject heading. I'm going to say this again. If you don't change the subject heading to say resubmission, and you just say first assignment, I would just email you back and say your assignment is late. Remember that we have hundreds of students. So we don't have time to be looking through, oh, the person is resubmitting or they're not resubmitting. So simple instruction. If you are resubmitting your assignment, just put at the heading, the subject line, resubmission of assignment. Resubmission of assignment. When we get the assignment, we understand that it is a resubmission of your assignment, right? But if you just say submitting first assignment like the original email you sent us, we're not going to grade it because we figured that the assignment is late. But it should be resubmission in the subject heading. Next thing is that but some of you, like I said, and you still went ahead and do that. I said, do not tap your assignment as an email. And I know some of you doing that because some of you just got on. You did not know what was happening, I believe. You just got on and said, this is my email, I need my book. And then you start asking your friend about it. So most of you asking people what the assignment that we have, and you just started sending me email for your assignment. It's unacceptable. If you did that, you are already failed the assignment because you don't tap your assignment in an email to your professor. I said you need to tap your assignment or double space on in the Word Perfect program, attach it to an email and send it to us. Now, when you attach your assignment to your email, please have a cover page on your assignment because when we open the email and download the assignment, if I'm looking at some I downloaded already on the other side of my screen. If we, I'm not going to call them anyway, but if we download your assignments, uh, it does not have your name. That's why we're asking you to send us a cover page. Then we have to go back. We have to go back to the email to start searching the email. Whose assignment is this? And that's why some of you are not getting feedback from us up to now. We have hundreds of assignments. I have to go back to every email if you don't have a cover page so your name can be in your assignment. So we don't know who assignment is that, and we cannot get your feedback if you don't have your name on your assignment. I'm sorry for that. Come on, folks. You are in an institution. Just follow the instructions and you will do well. Pay attention to your class, follow instructions, and you will do well. If you cannot understand something in class, please reach up to your professor. I know many times some of you ask your classmates, that's wonderful. But if you get some information that you think you don't understand from your classmate, please reach out to your professor, ask them questions. Reason being, some of your classmates may even not be paying attention in class, just like you, and you ask them for information and they give you the wrong information. For example, I know somebody was not part of the class section for the second day, and they tried to send us the assignment. And so I don't know where they got that information from. What they did was they just copy the notes and all my presentation I gave, the whole presentation from day one and day two, copy everything and send it to me as an assignment. Some things that were not even required of them in the assignment, they spend effort stepping it or writing it to send it back to me. You just wasted your energy, your time. It's not going to be accepted because those things were not required in your assignment. So please, any question on your assignment, please ask your question right now. We have spent 32 minutes just on assignment. That's how serious it is because I want you to succeed and I want you to do well. Any assignment, any question in your assignment before I continue? No question? I hope you are listening to me. If someone is listening to me, can you just tap where I'm listening, or you can put up your hand? I will appreciate it. I just want to be talking to myself because I believe that I thought we're going to be having answer. Okay, thank you. You're listening. You hear me? Good. Thank you. You are hearing me. That's okay. That's good. I thought we're going to be having questions, and that's why. I'm so glad to announce today that yesterday. Thank you, Amma Mercy Samuel. I'm glad you're back home. Uh, Ambassador Samuel Favor, and we have great people on this platform. I really appreciate that. We are glad to announce today that we have opened our India chapter for the future diplomas. The future diploma is finally in India as I speak to you today. So while some of you can jam your hand together and just clap for the future diplomas, I just want to announce in this open platform that the future diploma is in India, and we have recruited one of the best country director for India, and I'm excited about that. So I just wanted to announce to us today that we are now in India, right? So get ready for a visit to India and the conference in India. So a new chapter is open. Future Diploma 9 is in 49 nations of the world. 49 nations of the 49 nations of the world. We want to hit the 50th nation in the next 2 months. So we thank you for all that you are doing. Somebody say, Ambassador Elizabeth said, are we submitting our workbook after the week since it has we've gone into? Yes, yes. You will submit your week 1 and 2 to us by the end of next week. That's why I'm not giving you any assignment, because I want to see the assignment that you have done and the one that you working on in your course material. Uh, they have to be submitted to us, right? And they are part of your final grade. The study guide, the questions in there the questions have to be submitted to us for them to be graded and sent back to you as well. Uh, did someone send us something? Yeah. So it will be graded and sent back to you. So please work on that and send that back to us. Okay. So I will go slowly on giving more assignments because that, and remember, uh the syllabus or the study guide in question one and week 1 and week 2, remember you're going to be having week 3 and week 4. You're having another study guide that is coming before the course comes to our end. Another study guide that is coming. So I will start sending the study guide to Ambassador Amma Mercy Samuel and Ambassador David pretty soon, so they can start distributing week 3 and 4 study guides to those of you who preparing for lesson 2. Some of you are here online and you I just joined in the class today. You missed the first two sections. I don't know how well you're gonna do in your assignments and on your final exam. So I will let you understand that we are tracking students who come in and who not attending classes. So we will give you time to do that. Um, yes, I think I just answered that question. Ambassador Elizabeth asked, "Are we submitting our work book after the week since it has we're going?" Yes, you are submitting that, and week two you're going to get with two study with two study guide. All right. So, any more question on your studies material? Today, I just thought about taking questions on your study materials and your assignments because I realized that we have talked enough, and you are not asking me questions from your study from your book. Is there any way you are having problem in reading your book? The book is so simple to read and to understand to me, but it may not be for everybody. That's why we selected this book for your first course. So if you have any question, go ahead now and let's take them. Any question on the assignment or your course book? You remember we have read chapter one, chapter two, and today we should be in chapter three. I don't know if you have any question from chapter one and chapter two. Uh, any question for chapter one and chapter two? Any question for chapter one and chapter two? Uh, so let's run back into chapter two. If you have your course book, turn your course book into chapter two. There are a couple of things that I want to share with you. Re- These are important points. These are important points in chapter two of your textbook. So go to check your textbook in chapter two before we conclude in chapter three. In chapter two, we're talking about why do we need diplomacy and diplomats. Uh, and if you remember in chapter two of the textbook, we examine why we need diploma and diplomacy. You have to remember that. Uh, remember the first section of chapter two. We talk about the historical, anthropological, and the sociological uh, uh, stories about how diplomacy came into being, and we began to talk about the accounts and the consequences that are involved, how human beings can come together or live together. And we said every time people come together, there must be a means of communication. There must be a means of communication. Remember that every time people come together in chapter two of our textbook, there must be a means of communication. In the second section of chapter two, I'm trying to give you some key points because some of you may have forgotten. In the section of chapter two in our study, we look at uh, the distinctives of what the diplomats do. What are the work of the diplomats? Well, we saw what diplomats do. We studied their functions, right, and how they can the functions and the sociability, how they can function, how they can socialize, and live together in separate groups. So we talk about separate groups. Remember, these are very much important. We also talk about the positive and the negative aspects of identity. Remember this one. We talk about the positive and the negative aspects of identity, and why intergroup relations. Come on, computers, get me. Why intergroup relations are harder and more difficult to conduct than intergroup relations. So remember the difference between the intergroup relationship and the intergroup relationship. Intra is INTRA, intragroup relationships. And then in our final section, we also talk about the challenges which diplomats will face to be successful. And I want to talk about that one again because we ran over that because of time. The challenges why diplomats will be successful. Now, We said the term in chapter 2, the term diplomacy is tricky. The word diplomacy, we need to understand that it has been around the English language uh, for less than I want to say I think 300 years, according to our textbook, 300 years. So it's a strange term to some, and what diplomacy means to one group, it means something else to another group. What diplomacy means to one group, it means something else to another group. Let me give you an example. For the Chinese, they tend to equip diplomacy to foreign policy. So the Chinese tend to equip diplomacy to foreign policy. The Americans, when they're talking about diplomacy, we look at it as international relations in general. And the English speaker, when they're talking about diplomacy, the English speakers, they use it in a way that they are communicating with other people, especially when it's something difficult that they have to say, and it has the potential to upset the other person who's hearing it. So you need to understand the three distinct distinctions about diplomacy. Again, the Chinese see diplomacy, or they equip diplomacy as foreign policy. Every time the Chinese man is talking about diplomacy, he wants to talk about foreign policy, what your policies are, their foreign policy. Nothing the Chinese will talk about excluding the foreign policy. For us as Americans, when the Americans talk about international relations in general, they are talking, when they talk about diplomacy, they are talking about international relations, right? And that's why most of our schools and most of our things when you hear is in the School of International Relations or Diplomacy and International Relations. We talk about international relations, international relations. That's how it sounds to us as as Americans when we talk about the term diplomacy, right? Remember that in the English speaker, oh God, they talk about the term diplomacy when they're having something to communicate with other people. And I say especially when it's something that is difficult for other people to grab, or it has the potential to upset the person who's hearing it. So it's communication for all other English people. So we talk about the anthropologist in chapter 2. We said the anthropologists tell us that once people see themselves living in separate groups, and when these groups meet with each other, they must have a way to figure out to communicate. Right? So anthropologists focus, we talk about the history and the breadth of diplomacy. Remember that. So anthropologists say, oh come on. Diplomacy just focusing on when people meet in group, when they have things to talk about, they must find a way to communicate. And the communication of people coming together, we're just going to term it as diplomacy. Remember, there are different types of diplomacy, and I'm gonna let you. We're gonna get those ones pretty soon. I know there's a question coming in, but let me go ahead first. We took a lot of time, more than 30 minutes, on just talking about the assignment, and I want to take all my time on this question because these things are important for you to succeed in your career and succeed in your course. And your questions are important too, so that we take them as well. We said, or let me just let you know about this one as we move forward in our course. When groups meet, we're talking about groups. When groups meet, uh, they want to communicate with each other. And for them to communicate with each other, what they try to do is that they do things like appointing messengers. Messengers, MESSEN, messengers, MESSENGER. They appoint messengers who are treated differently from everyone else. Right? So what they do is that we want to communicate. And so what we're going to do is I want to send a message to our counterparts or our to maybe another state. Remember when I said when we talk about states, We are talking about countries in our state. So we want to send message to another state. We're going to select somebody as a messenger, and this messenger will be treated differently from everybody else. And they refer to that. That's a historical uh, a way, archaeological way of doing diplomacy. So, in other words, diplomats or ambassadors was appointed as ministers, or sorry, not ministers, but messengers. I'm sorry, messengers who are to be treated differently from everyone else. So ambassador roles or ambassadors are people who are treated differently from ordinary citizens. They are selected, they are appointed as messengers. That's why diplomats go. That's what the writer was trying to make us to understand, that when diplomats go on assignment, they must be treated differently. They are diplomats. That's what the guy humilities. Immunities, they are diplomats. They are treated differently. So what that tells us as diplomats, we must also be able to present ourselves differently to the community. So diplomats must, if they want to be treated differently from other people, then they must be able to present themselves differently from the common people or the ordinary people. It doesn't mean you need to take up yourself higher on the higher pedal or on the red carpet. It simply means your ethical presentation, your behavior, and we're going to talk about the qualifications of becoming a diplomat or an ambassador, or generally with your country, and how we can become an ambassador with the future diplomats. There are a lot of things required. But hear me, folks. The breakthrough is our course is making us to understand that diplomats are treated differently from everyone else. In that same way, diplomats need to treat themselves or take themselves differently. Diplomats cannot just talk like other people talk. Diplomats have to think before they talk, and most of you trying to define the word tight, TACT. That one of the reasons why I ask you to define the word tight, and you come to understand that part of the definitions of being tactful is someone to think before they can talk, someone to reason, someone who can put their feet in someone else's shoes. And there are good reasons why I gave you those words to define, because it tells you who are diplomat are to be. It gives you some of the qualifications of diplomats or ambassadors. So diplomats should be treated differently from different people. So what that means, you must be treated. If you want to be treated differently, folks, you must also present yourself differently. That's why I'm mindful of people who come on our platform and they just act like people, excuse me for my expression, but people who just from the street, people who don't have training, people they just come in and just post things in our chat room. They just come in and just say some things that are unethical. They are very, disrespectful. They are rude, and it's sending links to scam other people and tell them click here, or maybe there's a job. There's a job is in London. If you click this link or come through our training, man, those are street behaviors. I'm sorry to say, if you do that, that's why we just take you off our platform. You are acting as someone from the street. You must be you must be respectful. You must respect the platform. That platform is serving 49 nations around the world. Don't come on our platform and just treat yourself like common people. Then the next time we see you sending a message, uh, you know, I have registered for the class. I'm not getting feedback yet. Who's going to give you feedback when you're acting like someone who's not an ambassador or a diplomat? Come on, nowhere for you, my friend, in our gallery. There is no place for you. That's what I tell my directors. Immediately take this person off. And in fact, some of you now start sending a signal to your colleague, or maybe those online, and said, if you I saw someone send a message to somebody and said, if you will soon be removed, or if you do that again, you're going to be picked. They are now warning at least members on the platform. You are doing a great job. You are taking your role very seriously, because you now understand who you are as ambassadors and diplomats, and so you know that you have to treat yourself in a platform differently. You're not just hooking up with people and just allowing people to come and support the platform and put things on the platform that is not necessary. So remember that, right? Uh, Remember this one, that anthropology, Anthropology, if I can spell that correctly. I think it's Anthropology. Anthropology. Anthropology cannot pin down the starting point of diplomacy. What that means, anthropology tried, but they cannot say diplomacy started at this point in time, because anthropology is the study of man, and anthropologists began to study diplomacy, and they said, historians said diplomacy started in India at this point in time. But anthropologists said we cannot pin down when diplomacy started, and they cannot also pin down the time that we enter recorded history of diplomacy. But before we enter into the recorded history of diplomacy, diplomacy was well established. That's what anthropologists believe from our course. So both anthropologists and historians can they also provide us evidence. However, that once diplomacy got started, it became more complex, it became more institutionalized, and eventually it became professionalized. Okay, so try to remember this, that uh, anthropologists and historian believe by the time diplomacy has gotten on grounds and it was recorded, diplomacy became more complex, it became more institutionalized, and it became more professionalized. And in fact, that's what you're going to read in chapter 3 of your book. If you're starting reading chapter 3 of your book, you will see that diplomacy became so institutionalized until the League of Nations blamed the diplomats, and they said the diplomats were responsible for World War One. And that's why it was hard for the League of Nations to end World War One. I mean, sorry, it was very difficult for them to end World War. They fought very hard to when they end World War One, and then when they came into World War Two, it was difficult because they blame League of Nations. Sarah Blaine said the diplomats were responsible for World War Two, uh, World War One, and then it was difficult for them. So diplomats were blamed for establishing the war, or for feeding into the war, because diplomacy became so complex, it became so institutionalized, and eventually became so professionalized. And so we need diplomats today, because the field is getting complex. How to negotiate, how to talk with people, how to go on diplomatic missions. You have to provide services for those who are in need on a well professional level. So professionalism in diplomacy is important. As you continue to go through this course and gaining membership with us, and just for your own professional skills, my friend, remember that diplomacy is complex. It's a complex institution, complex thing. Is institutionalized and personalized. I give an example. How the complexity in diplomacy, right? How to negotiate with war. Look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, right? How complex is getting, and it's so hard to negotiate. In fact, the United States government sent a delegate to try to go to talk with China to see how China can get involved in a diplomacy level to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, right? And all the attempts, failing, and there are more discussions that are on the way. Diplomacy is getting so complex, right? The complexity of diplomacy is something that is challenging to diplomats today. Look at your own situation, my friend. How complex it is to handle things, to negotiate, to talk to people. It has become institutionalized. In other words, sometimes diplomats have to have the interest of the government, the interest of the institution, or the interest of the group who sent them. So some diplomats are losing ethics because they are not always trying to do what is right. They try to please the institution. So it's becoming institutionalized. I'm only talking for my country because this is what my country believes, and this is what my country want me to say. Are they saying the right thing? Oh no, it has become so institutionalized, right? And then it has become become professionalized. Diplomats have become a profession. Everybody wants to become a diplomat. Everybody wants to become an ambassador around the world. It's becoming professionalized. So for it to become professionalized, for you to become a professional diplomat, that's why you need training. That's one of the reasons why this training is being set. Many countries for you before you become a diplomat with them to be sent up, you have to go through. You have to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. The requirement, and at the same time, you got to go through. Specialized training with them, and this is our specialized training for our diplomats. Let me take this question and then we will continue. When are we getting our assignments back for correction? Maybe you just coming on, that's why you asked this question. Because we told you we're going to submit, we're going to give your assignment. Those of you who have submitted your assignment on time, you're going to get it back. If you submitted your assignment late, we're not going to send it back to you. And the time stamp is there when you submitted your assignment. It tells me when your assignment was submitted. So once it came in late, we don't have time to correct your assignment. You have already filled that assignment. Okay. Once it's late, we're not going to correct it. But if it came a time, you're going to get a feedback from us. We want you to understand that instructions, dedications, and commitment to your training is important. We can never accept assignments that come in late after the cutoff time because assignments should be in 11:55 Sunday night. Some of you send your assignment Monday. So put just an assignment this morning, Tuesday. Why is Tuesday night in your area? Some of you send it to me this morning. They are not going to be graded. Uh, so remember this one. In ancient China, we're talking about diplomacy. In ancient China, uh, when when we talk of in ancient China, what we call diplomacy was supposed to be about ordering relationships between the empire, who occupied a position at the top center in the top of the civilized world, and the lesser, how to call them, political groupings who are around and below that empire. So again, I said in ancient China, what we call diplomacy is supposed to be the right ordering of relationship between the empire, right? And the empire occupied the highest position. And this relationship should be between the empire and who? The lesser political groupings who are below the empire. So diplomacy meant different things during ancient China days. It was between the empire and those political groupings that are below the empire. And when they do that, they were talking about diplomacy. All right. Um, Let me see. I thought I have no question. I thought I had another question coming in. All right. Any question? Let your question come. Let's go ahead with your questions. Um, and if you go through your textbook, you will see box 2.2 and they talk about sim- simple diplomacy in the 21st century Syria. Remember that, read that section as well, box 2.2. We'll talk about simple diplomacy. What are simple diplomacy? I shared this with you before. I'm going to share it again with you. Simple, as an example of simple diplomacy is when I said it before. Example, when our neighbors in the United States of America come together to dig snow, to the snow falls in America. Oh, I just heard that this morning was falling in the snow fell in South Africa. That was great. I I watched the snow in South Africa. I was so excited that it's falling again in Africa. Snow fell in South Africa this month, and it was wonderful for the children running into the snow playing, and all of folks are seeing snow. Some people seeing snow in Africa for the first time. Some people have the babies now, the younger children. Some people have seen that because I think 5 or 6 years ago, was that 5 or 6 years ago, snow also fell in South Africa. And snow has been falling there historically. But when the snow falls, for instance, let me go back to South Africa. When the snow fell in South Africa, if it were huge, a lot of snow, people gather to pick up to cut the snows from the driveway for the car to pass or things like that. When they were into IT at that time, it was called simple diplomacy. SIMPLE, simple diplomacy. So diplomacy take place in many forms. In many forms. Simple diplomacy is like people, digging up snow and people interacting. That's not people to people diplomacy. That's not public diplomacy. It's simply called simple diplomacy. So simple diplomacy take place in many forms. Don't send it to me as do not send this as an assignment, but think about what a simple diplomacy is in your community. What a simple diplomacy is when you're doing something. All right, what a simple diplomacy is. So any more question? No. Okay. Again, I said simple diplomacy occurs whenever separate groups enter into relationships with one another over simple things. Example: how residents of different apartment or home are sharing snow from the driveway, you know, or who going to, for instance, another example can be for simple diplomacy can be uh, one night with your team be able to use the practice field or the field ground. It's a simple diplomacy. Scheduling a night that this night is your time to go on the field and this night is my team time. It's simple diplomacy, right? Making appointments and agreement, and we yielding to that. All right. Saturday night, you're going to be practicing on the field. We're going to take Sunday morning, or we're going to take Saturday morning, and you're going to take Saturday evening or afternoon. Those are simple diplomacy. Diplomacy involves interacting with people and discussing, negotiating, and have a term. Interacting with people. So remember that simple diplomacy occurs whenever separate groups enter into relationships, right? Taking the snow again. We are separate. I from a family, you from a family. We came together, or maybe uh we using the same soccer pitch, right? My team is different from your team. Simple diplomacy will call for, let's have an agreement. When you come on the soccer pitch, and when do I come on the soccer pitch? If we're not playing this match against each other, but if you want to practice and I want to practice, we have one soccer pitch in our community. Once one football field in Africa, you must call it. Yeah, we call it soccer pitch. If you have one soccer pitch or one soccer field, who gonna use it at what time, right? Those are simple diplomacy. uh so we said his anthropologists and historians are very good in tracking the way diplomacy emerged between simple states or between simple countries. like I said. And then eventually they begin to involve in more complex form, and it started to take place. So diplomacy, anthropologists said, we just talk about simple diplomacy. Anthropologists said that diplomacy started from a simple form, it went into complex situation, right? For instance, let's go back to the soccer page. It started with us on a very simple way. You take Saturday and I take Sunday. But now Saturday may not be working for me any longer. Uh, and Sunday is still good for you, but I want to be involved in Sunday too because we have a game on Sunday. Right, that's the only soccer page. We never had an agreement. If you want to play a game on Sunday, you need to use the pitch. Sunday is mine. Now it's becoming complex because now we have to go back to the drawing table and negotiate. I need Sunday. Oh, but no, Sunday is mine. Now it's becoming complex. I got my game schedule on Sunday and Saturday is yours. Well, we never discussed that initially. We only said Saturday is for you on the football field and Sunday is for my team. But now we are scheduling an important match. We want everybody to come and see us on Sunday. But I forgotten that I said Sunday was yours, and we never had an agreement that well we can flip when I have important matches or a match to play. Now it's becoming complex. So you see, from simple diplomacy, it becoming complex, right? Becoming complex. Let me give you an example of the snow. Then you start thinking about that. Now we came to dig the snow off our driveway, and my neighbor, everybody came. We are interacting and to dig up the snow. And then my neighbor came and helped me to dig up my snow from my driveway. And trying to go dig up his snow from his driveway, uh, I said, I'm tired. I cannot help. Now it's becoming complex. My neighbor said, well, but I came and I helped you, and we dug out your snow from the driveway. What can you help me? Well, either we never discuss it. Well, you came on a voluntary basis to help me, and I must decide to come and help you too. Well, I'm tired. Or let's leave your snow right now. Let's go rest for the next 3 hours. Let's get warm because you get the snow, you get cold. Let's go get warm in the next 2 or 3 hours. We're gonna come back and dig up your snow. But remember, the more you leave the snow on the ground, the harder it becomes. And then the man says, well, but if we leave the snow and go in for 2 hours, now it's going to be solid. It's going to turn into solid earth. It's going to be hard for us to dig it. Let's do it now. Now you see, diplomacy that was simple into action now is getting complex. Have you gotten into a discussion with somebody that on certain terms and conditions that was simple diplomacy, and then you see that as the conversation starts to go, it's getting complex. Now the diplomacy that was simple now is getting complex, right? Even diplomacy is part of marriage. There are certain things that you talk about initially, and then when you see the couples or two people coming together, now things start to get complex. Diplomacy are in every form, in every place. They got simple diplomacy, and then diplomacy can grow into complexity, right? So it needs to be, when it grows into complexity, we need to understand that if sometimes it becomes institutionalized, it becomes professionalized. Any question? Any question? No, remember this. If you don't have a question, neither anthropologists and historian are okay. Anthropologists and historians, they are not good at answering why human beings have so often and always need diplomacy. Remember this: anthropologists and historian, with all the research they have made, I want you to take notes as I stop. Anthropologists and historians, neither of them is very good at answering why human beings have so often, to the point of 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 nearly always, felt the need for diplomacy. They don't understand. They have not answered that question. So we need to understand that they are still figuring that out. But what anthropologists and historians are not good at, no, no, let me go back. So anthropologists and historians, like I said, neither of them is very good at answering why human beings have so often, to the point of nearly always, the need diplomacy, right? In other words, uh, they are saying, what is the big deal about relationship between separate groups of people, which means which seems to require they act diplomatically. What is a big deal about that? And so they are trying to figure that out. They're trying to help answer the question. So to help answer that question, then your course writer switched from anthropologist and historian, and he looked more into uh, sociologist and psychology, right? Uh, so he looks in from anthropologists and historians standpoint. The writer switch in your study notes to what we call sociologists and psychology, right? Psychologists study human beings, why people need this and why people do what they do. He went into psychologists, and then he also looked at sociologists, the socialization of people. When people socialize, what happened? you know um, so what anthropologists, before coming to sociologists and psychologists in diplomacy, those are important things, man. People need to have some type of psychology. People need to be able to socialize. Sociologists study other people as well, to be able to answer the problems. So anthropology and anthropology and history can show us that groups and relationships between these groups have been around for a very long time. Remember this one. Anthropologists and historian have shown us that groups and relationships between these people have been around for a very long time. Anthropologists can also show us that people act diplomatically. Anthropologists and sociologists also tell us that people act diplomatically. So that's one of the things that you are expected to act diplomatically as an ambassador with us, or anywhere you work, whether in your business or whatever you work. That's why you need to act in a diplomatic way. In a diplomatic way. Uh, I can't. Are you? I hope everybody listen. I hope I'm not talking to myself. Again, I will pause and say, if you are hearing me, just one person can say we are hearing you. You don't have, everybody don't have to say we are. Just one person. Okay, you are listening. Thank you so much, Ambassador Samuel. Thank you. And someone asked a question. Is that Joseph? Ambassador Joseph asked a question. Uh, how how does anthropology came into the world as an ambassador? Well, how does anthropology came into the world as an ambassador? Yeah, I mean, anthropologist is not the name of somebody. Anthropology is the study of man. So anthropologists never came into the world as an ambassador. So 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 if I answer your question, Ambassador Joseph uh, Koroma, Koroma, anthropologist is to study. Define anthropologist so you can know what anthropology is. But in a nutshell, anthropologist is the study of human beings, of men, right? So anthropology is not a name. So anthropologists cannot come into the world as a diplomat. Anthropology is a study, and the study is telling us when our diplomatic missions all started. All right. So study your book, my friend. Uh, Somebody said, Ambassador Frank said, diplomacy plays a crucial role in shaping China's foreign policy and its engagement with the global community. That is so true. That is so true, Ambassador Frank. Diplomacy plays a critical role in foreign in shaping the foreign policy of China. We're going to talk about that later on. Uh, any question that I have jumped over or that Ambassador Mercy Sam have not seen to send me? Um, Someone said, Ambassador Frank M. Sheriff said, a, a call, it should be according to my study, according, it should be according to my study of review. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know what he says here. Simple diplomacy refers to the basic principles and, and practices of conducting diplomatic relationships between countries. All right. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. According to your review, simple diplomacy refers to the basic principles and practices of conducting diplomatic relationships between countries. It may not just be between countries. So be mindful of your definition because simple diplomacy can also be be between people. Like I said, two families coming out and showering snow that falls from your driveway together. That's simple diplomacy. So it's not between countries. It's not always between countries. I just said two teams want to share the soccer pitch. One team say you take Saturday and I take Sunday. That's it's not between countries. It's between two groups. So we need to understand our definitions means so much to our understanding of that. That's why I say every time you make research and you define something from the internet or whatever from a course book, be mindful that you understand and digest your material before sending it into us because simple diplomacy does not always refer to the principle and practices of conducting diplomatic relations between countries. Yes, it's involved that, but it also involves it's not all to the definition, it also involved between people, between groups. Simple diplomacy can be between groups as well. So understand that. Any more question? Okay. All right. So let's come back here. Stay in our book. Uh, we, so we need to understand diplomacy is important because we may say that that it is part of our human nature that people want to live together in groups. You know, even though the idea of human nature is difficult, and sometimes it can be misused. But it's good for people to live in group, you know, and once the rector says he calls that what we call the sociability agreements, sociability agreements for why people or human beings live together, sociability agreements. So sociability spell sociability sociability arguments, arguments. So So sociability arguments tell us why people want. That's actually why people want to live together in group. All right. Uh, what did I leave out? Now remember this. Arguments. The writer went on to say that arguments over how identities. Now talking about the identities figure. Arguments over how identities are created, how identities are sustained, how identities are destroyed, how identities have become a privilege, how identities have been suppressed, or how identities have become inno is referred to what he called identity politics. Politics. Identity politics. Now, the writer explained that identity politics is an argument over how identities are created, how identities are sustained, how identities are destroyed, how identities are become a privilege, how identities are suppressed, and how some identities are ignored. So remember that it's called what we call identity politics. Yeah, they have identity politics, right? So remember that. Uh, a man by the name of Samut Freud. His name is Simon, Srgmund. Simon Freud. Freud is spelled Freud. Simon Freud used the term narcissism of small differences. So I want you to read in box 2.3 on what we call identities and small differences that happen in Northern Ireland, and see when Simon Freud was referring to narcissism as of small dignities, what he meant. It is important for you to read that. It's in your course book and box, and it's on box 2.3. We'll call the identities and small differences. A man by the name of Simon Freud used the term what he called narcissism of small differences, what he meant. So understand why narcissism of small identities meant, right? Uh, it was recalled, according to your textbook, that Britain became a member of the European Community, and at that time it was called European Union. Uh, in 1993, but but in 1973, Britain became a member of the American, sorry, European Community. Before it was called European Union, but then it was changed to the European Community, and Britain became. We're talking about diplomacy. I will start. So Britain became part of that diplomatic community in 1973. Before Britain became part of the European community, they were using a blue color passport. When Britain became part of the European community, they changed the passport color from blue to what they call Burgundy Day, what we call like maroon. Well, but it's not maroon. So maybe you want to get the spelling. It's Burgundy. So they changed it to the burgundy color. The burgundy color, right? So they went in before 1973. Britain was using the blue color passport, and they changed the color passport to the burgundy color when it became part of the European Union. Why? Because they wanted to identify with the European Union, and then on the passport, they added the name European Union on the cover page. The reason why I brought this in, you need to understand in your own country as a diplomat what the different colors of your passport and what the colors mean to you. I'll give you an example. In West Africa, countries had their own passports. I know the West African countries. Let me give an example, like Ghana, like Nigeria, like Liberia. I think Sierra Leone, those other countries, they had their own passports. Now, sometimes they used to call international passport, but it's a passport. Now, because they are part of ECOWAS, ECOWAS introduced a new passport, right? ECOWAS introduced a new passport. For instance, in Liberia, the passport was blue, that symbolizes the American color. The Liberian passport was blue, signifying the American color passport. The only difference was the the Liberian put the seal of liberty on the top of their passport, and the American passport took the seal, the image of the American flag on their passport. But if you see the two passports, they were identical, blue like the American passport, the Liberian passport. Now, when they became part of ECOWAS, and ECOWAS now introduced a new passport that is green, in color green. So Liberians now have adapted to the green passport as the passport, and is written on it, not Liberia, but it's written on the ECOWAS to identify with the ECOWAS community. So you see, history goes back why passports are having different colors. Make a research. Don't send it to me, but make a research. What color of your country passport? Why you thought your passport uh, uh, was that color, and why has it changed? You see, if you do that, you have a diplomatic understanding of your country and how your country interacted with other countries, whether on on a simple platform or on a complex platform, right? So the same thing happened with Britain. They joined the European Union in 1973. They had a blue passport, and that passport, the blue passport, looking like black, like a black passport, but then they changed it from blue to burgundy. But something happened though. Something happened. So if you hear me talking about it, uh, uh, something happened when when uh, when Britain decided to leave the EU. Yes, Britain left the EU. So make a research and see why it left. It's right in your book. Why Britain left the EU at that time. When Britain decided to leave the EU, the European Union, uh, they have to vote, and some of the people agree to leave the EU, and the people who agreed to leave the EU in Britain were referred to as the leavers. Leavers, the leavers, right? And for them, it symbolized at that time that Britain was breaking free from the EU. So they were called the relievers, and they felt very fine that Britain was leaving the EU. Uh, when and those the people from Britain, those who decided to stay. I know a question came in right now. Uh, those who decide so those who decided to stay, uh, they stayed, right? They were referred, those who decided for Britain to stay, they were referred to as what we call the remainers. So Britain decided to leave, break away, and leave the EU. And when Britain decided to leave the EU in 2017, they voted to leave when they voted to leave the EU. The year after, in 2000, after 2017, the government of Britain announced that they were restoring a version of the old blue passport. So watch this. Britain had first the blue passport. When it became part of the EU, they had the Burgundy passport, color passport, and they had only European Union. When they broke off the European Union, they went back. The government announced in 2017, when they broke off, the government announced that they were restoring the version of the old blue passport. So that's why we see Britain had the blue passport before they came to the burgundy color, and then now Britain is also back to the blue passport in 2017. So that's historical future of passports in diplomacy. So you need to understand why your country has this type of color passports, right? Let me take another question. I hope you are learning something as we go. How can foreign policy affect diplomatic relations or policies between countries? Right? You have to understand as a diplomat, if you are working from the foreign policy, you have to understand the policy of VEMSA, Ambassador VEMSA. You have to understand the policy of that. How it affects policy in the sense that what your country believe and what the other country believe. Your belief may be different from the other countries' belief, but you people can share a common belief, or you can come at a common ground, and this is where negotiation comes in. You have to be able to negotiate with another country who does not believe in what you believe. At the same time, you can have a common ground. So. But you have to be ethical. You gotta be tactful. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to convince. The best word is persuade, and that's one of the qualifications of becoming an effective ambassador. You must be able to persuade the person who are you negotiating with, at least to come on your side or to have a common ground. Suppose the first thing you need to do is to understand the policies of your country, so it affects, because policy affects. Let me share this with you. I'm jumping ahead of class all the time, and this is a good question. You will come to understand that America was able to negotiate and persuade Mexico, and Mexico sold California to the United States. Many people don't know this, but California was not originally a state. It was a country, and that country belonged to Mexico, the country of Mexico. Policies, negotiation. America persuaded Mexico. Remember this: America persuaded Mexico, and Mexico sold California to the United States of America. You see what I talk about policy and influence? So the policy of America was so strong enough that they could influence. They could influence a country like Mexico, and Mexico sold California. That's why in California is from where I am. California is from with Mexicans. With Mexicans, in fact, we call it Mexican Republic sometimes. It's from with Mexicans. It's a Mexican Republic. Why? Because America persuaded negotiation, persuaded policy, persuaded Mexico, and Mexico sold California. How can a state sell part of the state? I'm going to shock you with this one. Russia sold Alaska, the state of Alaska, Alaska. Russia now who's fighting war. Alaska, Russia now who fighting war to get Ukraine. Look, I mean, diplomatic history is important, my people. Russia who fighting now to get Ukraine to be honor them as part of their country. Russia sold Alaska to the United States of America. Diplomatic history is important. So and and international policy is important. So the American policy is so strong that America can get anything they want to get. Can you imagine America convincing Russia and Russia sold the state of Alaska to California? To the United States of America. Mexico sold California to the United States. Russia sold Alaska to the United States. And I'm going to shock you with this one. Denmark, D-M-A-R-K. Denmark sold the Danish, D-N-I-S-S, the Danish Virgin Island to America. Well, now we're talking, that's a good question you asked. We're talking about foreign policy. How can it affect diplomatic relations? So it affected the diplomatic relations because how can Russia sell Alaska, excuse me, to the United States of America? You selling your people Alaska to another country? How can Mexico sell California to America? So Mexico sold the people who were living in California. They sold the people to the United States of America. Now we're going to be talking about bad diplomacy. How and how in the world? So we call that the act of deal. In your course note, on this foreign policy that you just asked, the act of deal, or everything is negotiable. They call it the act of deal. So if you hear the act of deal, of everything is negotiable, it's a bad thing. In diplomacy, they call it the act of deal, D-E-A-L. The act, A-C-T, the act of deal, D-E-A-L. Or everything is negotiable. How can Russia make a deal or negotiate? America negotiate with Russia to sell Alaska to them. Are you serious? Bad diplomacy. And I can give you an example in Africa. History said that part of Guinea from Tio, Bozu, Lola, those are big cities in the Republic of Guinea. Bozu, Tio, Lola. It shares common border with Liberia, and it shares border with the county that is called Nimba, N-I-M-B, in Nimba County. History said that when the surveyors went to survey to demarcate Liberia from Guinea, the Liberian surveyor who went to survey the land sat down under the Palava hut, and the Guineans came to negotiate with them, the Liberian surveyor, and the Guineans gave them a drink in Africa that they call palm wine. It's made out of the palm tree. You know, some places call it passawa wine. Because the Nima belt in the Republic of Liberia is one of the richest part of the country. It has gold, diamond, but the main thing it has is the iron ore. And the Liberia's iron ore has served the war. So part of the mountain goes from the border from Liberia, which is Liberia, into Bosu, Tio, and Lola, a long range of the mountain. So the Guinean surveyor, the Guinean government was so smart and said Liberia is freaking rich in resources. Why we're going to allow them to have all the mountain? Let's split it with them. So they sat under the Palava hut while the Guineans surveyor were giving the Liberian surveyor, those who go to survey to demarcate the countries to make a border, was sitting and they felt that they were the chiefs. They were drinking drink and enjoying themselves and having fun while the Guinean surveyors were surveying the land and make the demarcation and separated Liberia and took Lola and took Bosu, Tio, Bosu, and Lola from Liberia. So, in other words, the Guineans government or the Guinean uh, surveyors were able to negotiate with the Liberians surveyor of government and took away major cities of Liberia. In other words, they sold Liberia for a cup of drink. Bad policy, bad government. So study your country that you share border with as a diplomat and do a research. Is it really the demarcation of my country, or was somebody influenced through a bad policy and bad international relations to let other countries take part of our land? It is a good thing to know. It is a good thing to know. Because if you know that the next place either belongs to you or not for you, you'll be understand that the next person across your border is your brother. Why you gonna start war with them? Why are you gonna kill them? Right? So do your history and know that. But remember this: that Mexico sold California to the United States the same way that Liberia sold part of Guinea, Bosu, Lola, and Tio to the Guinean government for a cup of drink. Right? So let me say this: in case Mexico decided not to negotiate and return the money that they got from the United States back to America to get a piece of land, would that happen? Now, that's policy. That's where policy comes in. When Mexico come back and say, California is not developed, California is rich, California is one of the largest cities, state in the United States of America, and now they are amongst the richest state. We need California back. Can that policy work? Can Mexico just come and return the money to the United States of America? Let's think about that. So that's a good question. Foreign policy. Kevin asks, what are the significance of changing a passport in relationship to diplomacy? It's simple. Countries changed the passport because they wanted to identify with the group or with that. In international relations, it shows that we are in agreement. Again, the British, like I said, changed the passport first to the color of the EU. Why? Because they wanted the EU to know and recognize and realize that yes, Britain has made a commitment to be part of the European Union, the EU. So now they are flying our color of passport, right? So when they're going around the world, they say we are part of the EU. Again, and also for common interest. For common interest. I said the example in West Africa, why Liberia will agree to use the West African passport. It gives you free access. Now, Liberians using the West African passport to go to Nigeria don't need visa. It seems that they are one. They carry the same passport, and when you carry the same passport, you don't need visa to enter into another country, right? You don't need visa to enter. Sierra Leoneans, if they have the West African passport, using the West African passport, you know, uh, they can come to Liberia. They can go to one of the West African countries. All they need to do is to just, upon arrival, stamp their book. They don't have to go to the embassy to say, I need visa. So you get stamped upon arrival. So it gives you commonality, it gives you association, and it also gives access. Access. I said another example. If you are traveling with the EU passport, you can go to the Shaking Nations. You can go to 12 nations around the world. Or even if you don't have the the EU passport, but you have the EU visa, right? I had an EU visa in one of my passports before. I had the EU, I had the visa to Europe, and because I have the EU visa, they call it Schengen visa. I went to 12. Sorry, I have access to go to 12 nations on that one visa. I was in Holland. From Holland, I was able to go to, that's the Netherlands, the capital of Netherlands. I was in the Netherlands. From the Netherlands, I was able to go to Germany, you know, and I could travel to other countries on that one visa, right? I don't need another visa to go from Holland to go to, from Netherlands to go into, yeah, to call it Holland or Netherlands, however you can, whatever you call it, uh, to go into to Germany at that time. You know, just get on the train and you get to the train and get there, at that time, or fly and get there and get there. So it's so that changing passport or whatever may be, for it's just diplomatic, common interest, common access, and it stretches the intent of unity and being together, and we are in agreement. All right, folks. Any more question? I think we have gone enough. It's about 1:48 right now. I wanted to let you go by 1:30 today, but it's 1:48. So well, some blessing you asked, DG, what is the difference between simple diplomacy and people-to-people diplomacy? Look, blessing. I hope you're not just, coming on this. I share this over and over and again, folks. Study your book. They are all in your book, right? I gave an example of people-to-people diplomacy. I said before, like, in your book. It's simple. It's right in your book. Like Bill Gates. I said 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates he manufactured the computer. He had an institution, but he was not thinking about building an institution, institutionalized. He was talking about dealing and affecting the lives of other people. So Bill Gates created the software, the computer, giving access and support to people. Bill Gates not just dealing with, institution, to say only institution can buy my computers, right? People to people. Bill Gates can give you computer, or he can sell you computer, right? I said if the student is going on an international student exchange program, on a student exchange program, it's also people to people. The student is going to meet other students. They're going to interact. They're going to exchange ideas. They're going to learn from a professor. They're going to be in school. It's people to people diplomacy. Uh, uh, if you attend one of our conferences, if you attend one of our, can I explain from Brexit. I will do that on Thursday, folks. I want you to go sooner. You know, same people asking me to please close sooner, and now I want to close, and all the questions are coming. When I'm about to close, you didn't ask the questions soon. I'm about to close, but anyway, I will help you. So, the people diplomats. For example, you come into one of our conferences in September in the United States of America. You come into a diplomatic conference. At the same time, you come into exchange ideas, you come in to learn, you come in to socialize. It's people to people diplomacy, my friend. You know, you meet us in the US or you meet us in Ethiopia. You know, in December, it's people to people diplomacy. You are coming on a diplomatic mission. That's why you coming to learn, you are coming to interact, you are coming to fellowship on a diplomatic level. You are learning is people to people diplomacy. And we said, come on, I'll give you an example, folks. Come on. And the next question was simple diplomacy, the difference between. So simple diplomacy again, you know, again, I come back to the same thing, my friend. In South Africa, when the people were digging the snows together in the community, one family came, another family came. They were digging snow together, and they have interaction at the same time. They are communicating and they are helping themselves and helping the community. They were doing it was a simple diplomacy. Right? If you go out in your community, for instance, but sometimes people to people diplomacy can be intertwined. All right. If we went out, future diplomats decided to undertake a project, and you went out in your community to help a widow or to help a child, it's people to people diplomacy. At the same time, it can be referred to, so examples are different. It can be referred to as simple diplomacy. It's simple, you know, and negotiating with this woman or negotiating with this child. You know, if I help you to go to school, you have to give me 80% of your final grade. Every time, at least anything below 80%, you lose your scholarship, right? It's simple diplomacy. You are negotiating with this person, but you are helping them to improve their lives, right? So sometimes simple diplomacy and people to people diplomacy can be intertwined. So we got to know when it is people to people diplomacy or when it is simple diplomacy. Okay? Someone asked a question. I don't know about that. You have to confirm that. Jim said Nigeria sold some of their land to Cameroon. Now you see people are going to start making research. Don't just say it, you must have the facts. You must have the facts, right? Don't just say that. You must have the fact. Make a research, right? Make a research. Make a research. But if you start making a research, it's going to be very great that you will understand that maybe the neighboring border or the neighboring country that you share border with, they may be your brothers right across. That because of our you know unlimited information and policies may have caused our land to be sold. Right? It's happening around the world. If that can happen in the United States of America, if Russia can sell Alaska, Mexico can sell California, Denmark can sell the Danish Virgin Islands to the United States, then who cannot sell part of the land to another country? Volunteering, and Ambassador Mercy Ama Samuel said, volunteering is an example of people-to-people diplomacy. That's correct. All depends on what you're volunteering, but that's correct. If you're volunteering to serve, if you're volunteering to help in our community, those of you who are volunteering with the future diplomats, and you are recruiting. Let me give a good example. Future diplomats, you are recruiting members. It shows that you are a diplomat for us. You are recruiting people. You are speaking to people about the future diplomats, and you are bringing people on board. It's people to people diplomacy. I'm trying to persuade, I'm trying to convince, I'm trying to sell the vision of the future diplomats and bring my neighbors and bring my friends on board. It's people to people diplomacy. Yes, good examples, Frank. Simple diplomacy could be regarded as trade by barter or something must be given in exchange of something. That's yeah, you can do that. It can be given, and that's ambassador about OBOT. Yeah, my people. I hope you got something from this teaching today. Uh, I would like to close. There are a lot of things we can talk about. Remember, I never touched on your study guide today. And if you look into your study guide, friends, there are a lot of things. Uh, there are a lot of things that you need to be aware of in your study guide. Never had time to touch upon your study guide today, um, but you need to understand. In the same chapter 2 of the when we come to the study guide, what diplomats do, we talk about what in your study know what is diplomacy. Remember that one. We said that some functions that diplomats uh, typically perform. They what to do, they promote. Remember this one, to promote international relations between countries and power holders. They protect the interest of their home country and those of other countries. They facilitate agreements and conventions, and they promote information about trade and commerce. So I'm going to say that again. Some functionalities that a diplomat typically performs, it may be a lot of them, but the first thing they do is that to promote international relations between countries and power holders. So as a diplomat, with the future diplomat, will also expect you to promote our international relations and our policy. And every diplomat will have a booklet, that we call a self guide of our policies and our and on our international and our international relations, how we do that, how we interact with different organizations, how we interact with government. That's a book we have, on a booklet that was prepared by me and our team for approval, so that each one of us can have. We want to promote the interests of your country, the interests of other countries. At the same time, you must promote the interests of the future diplomats. You also want to facilitate agreements and conventions. Our diplomats, I will be facilitating agreements between your community and our community, between your government and our organization. You will be having conventions, conferences, and our diplomats are expected, or our ambassadors are expected, to perform those things. And they must be able to promote the information about trade and commerce. Come on, you are an ambassador with us, and you are a business person. Oh yes, want to promote your trade, want to promote your interests and within your community. We want to introduce you to your community of commerce. Are you part of the community of commerce in your country? What type of business do you do? Is your commerce aware of what you do? We want to promote you in doing those things, right? So that the role of diplomat goes far beyond, etiquette is far beyond that. You are involving in international ties, international relations. We talk about different types of diplomatic work. We talk about uh, the consular officials that we call consular generals. Is in your study guide. Remember what the consular officials can do. The second group we talk about in your study guide is who we call the economic officials. What economic officials do. We also talk about management officials. What management officials do. Remember that we talk about public diplomatic officials. What is a public diplomacy, and what public diplomacy officials do. We talk about the fifth point we talk about in your study guide is what we call the political officials. Yes, ambassadors, diplomats can be political officials. Political officials in diplomat in diplomacy serves uh, they are responsible for managing and facilitating communication between countries. Remember what the political officials do. They are all in your study guide. We talk about the trade ambassadors or the trade officials. The trade ambassadors in diplomacy are ambassadors of global trade and commercial relations. You know, United Nations is involved in trade. Yes, then the people who do that, they are not ambassadors, but they are called international civil servants. Remember this. I'm going to be touching about this too because you see, uh, 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 most of you talk about United Nations. United Nations does not have ambassadors. They have ambassadors to United Nations. United Nations does not have ambassadors I mean, to send into another country. Yes, they have people representing them, but they have what they call international civil servants. Do you know that? And that's the same thing that the future diplomats is developing right now. After our ambassadors, we're going to be having what we call the we're just going to call future diplomat voluntary civil servants because international civil servants means that you are working with the United Nations, but they are sending you from one country to the next country. That's what they call you international to safeguard their resources, their materials, and their equipment. To protect the resources of the United Nations, they send people around the world from one country to the next country that they call the international civil servant. Diplomats, you have to know the difference between these things. Who are diplomat? Because some people call the international civil servants of the United Nations as ambassadors. They are not ambassadors. They are international civil servants, right? Your country can send an ambassador to the United Nations, so they can say, United States have an ambassador accredited to the United Nations, right? Or the American government has an ambassador that is accredited to Nigeria, to Pakistan, to Great Britain, but they don't have, so you need to understand that, but they don't have international civil servants. So that's a difference. The countries do not deal with international civil servants. The countries deal with civil servants. And the United States sending people, the United Nations sending people to your country to to deal with their affairs and handle their resources and their trade. They are recognized as the international civil servants. And in fact, the United Nations has what they call the International Civil Servants Commission. The International Civil Servants Commission. You need to understand the difference, ambassador. So your ambassador role is important to understand the difference because I see many people come on. They want to come on board with us, and they say, "Well, am I going to be an ambassador to the United Nations?" Well, unless your country sends you to be an ambassador. But even if you're working with the United Nations, you'll not be recognized as an ambassador to another country. You'll be recognized as an international civil servant. Okay, but your countries do not have international civil servant when they send you. When you are working in the country, they are having they only have the civil servant, but United Nations deal with international civil servants and the International Civil Servants Commission. Make research on those things, my friend. So we said in your study guide, there are ranks in diplomacy. They have the ambassador, they have the minister or counselor, they have the consular general, they have the secretary, they have the attache affair, and they have the assistant attache affair. Those are the ranks in diplomacy, right? So the diplomatic career ladders do not determine the importance of the missions, but it determines the seniority within your diplomacy. So they have the ambassador. The ambassador is the highest person to that country. They have the minister of consular. They have the minister or what they call consular general, and we'll talk about ministers or how the war ministers came in. That's why they have the foreign ministry. Remember that. I will talk about minister how it came in because the minister came came in. Do you know that the history in chapter 3, when you go to your book in chapter 3, that the only government, the only government I will recognize in many, many years back was just the Papa, the Pope, right? So there was a great fight between the Catholic and the Protestant when it comes to diplomacy. So you see, diplomacy goes back to the church and the Bible. Oh God, I'm going to talk about that one next week. But it's in your book, chapter 3. Diplomacy goes back, and there was a great fight between the Catholic Church and the Protestant about diplomacy. And they wanted to understand why only the Pope, the they call it the papacy, P-A-P-A-C, why the papacy, why only the Pope in those days was recognized as sending people on diplomatic missions, were negotiating with different states. So the countries now said no. Uh, Authority. If you read in your book, it's in your book. Authority comes from God and God alone. So authority does not come in just to the Pope. So every country, and that's the history of the breakaway in diplomacy. So now countries started saying, well, we have the right to send our people to negotiate and go to the Vatican or go to wherever the Pope is. We have the right to interact with other countries, not the Pope deciding for the world, not the Pope deciding for countries. My friend, read diplomacy. It goes back to the Bible. It goes back to the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. And then in that time, they've decided to select ministers. They were appointed and now as ministers. So ministers come from the church. What they call they will have ministers, and then they develop into the countries now develop into what they call the foreign ministry, because at that time they were sending ministers. Man, diplomacy is important. Read your history, my friend. Right, lay upon that. Well, folks, the skills of diplomacy is to negotiating skills, leadership skills, writing, and communication skills. That's what I want you to present your homework, your assignment in the professional way. Writing skills is important to becoming an ambassador. How do you negotiate? What is your leadership skills? What is your writing skill? And foreign language skill. That's why we will be asking Ambassador uh, uh, Samuel Amas Samuel to start giving us some foreign language courses, even as a French language. Diplomacy, you have to have a research skills. So that will tell you, make your research. This other thing I'm giving you now, I'm giving it to the study guide that I gave you. All these are in your study guide. Remember these things. Your research skills is important. Make research. Cause cultural awareness. Diplomacy is involving with core cultural awareness. That's one of the reason why I say study the next country, study the bolo. How I will tell you that many leaders in America, even some politicians, don't even know that Mexico sold California to the U.S. Many people don't know. They don't know that Russia sold Alaska. Study these things. Have cultural awareness. Be aware, right, of those things. But folks, there are a lot of things to diplomacy, and it gives me the joy to always come to you and to always talk to you. It was a wonderful time. Keep your questions for Thursday. We'll meet this coming Thursday, the same time and the same place. All right. Please send in your assignments. Please continue to work on your assignment. I am not giving you any assignment uh, today other than the assignments that are in your study guide, because I want you to work on all those assignments in your study guide, and you must submit your assignment this your study guide this coming Sunday, right? Because the second week, sorry, yeah, this coming Sunday. I will give you up to next Tuesday. Those are you. I will extend it up to next Tuesday. Those are you. I give you a 1 week, but your study guide should be complete. Should be complete by now. So thank you so much. Somebody said Ambassador Amma. Okay, Amma, I know it's Ambassador Amma, but Ash Amma, God richly bless you, man, from my heart. Ambassador Kevin, that's very good of you. Yes, I will ask Ambassador Amma if we can do some, at least just a French, just basic French, just like they live. I will give her the section to do live, in the future Diplomat School of Diplomacy, where Ambassador Amma can teach you French, just the basic French, how to call your name, how to write basic document, how to greet someone, bonjour, bonsoir, comment ça va, comment allez-vous, bonjour, good night, and things like that. I'm speaking my broken French, not good as ambassador. Things like that, just to learn basic French. And those of you who are already in the French francophone countries, if you want to do advanced French, because some people can speak French fluently, but they don't know how to write French. So it will also be a good time that you can hang up with Ambassador, you know, uh, Amma Mercy Samuel to do that. All right, God have blessed us with wonderful people, and we're going to make use of them. Right. This coming Friday, let me give the announcement. This coming Friday, we're going to send up the announcement. All our leaders from around the world, we should be having a Zoom conference, a Zoom meeting this coming Friday. Ambassador Sunday should be sending out the link and the time. This coming Friday, we want all our leaders from around the world, from Nigeria, Ghana, even a new place we just opened today, India, United States of America, all from around the world will be having a Zoom meeting, and we're going to be talking about the future diplomats. We're going to be talking. You're going to be giving us reports from your countries. We're going to be, just discussing about the future diplomat, and the Zoom meeting will be recorded, and we will also post it on our Facebook channel so that the members from around the world can see all our leader faces from around the world so they can identify on, just like this. We're going to be a discussion just like this. All the leaders will be online just like this, and the video will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel so that you can see all your leaders from around the world, and they can be talking about your country. They can be talking about the new development. But thank you so much. Connect with me if you missing anything. Be blessed. Learn the history, diplomatic. Read chapter 3. We will continue in chapter 3 this coming Thursday. We may not end chapter 3. Chapter 3 is so big. We may end chapter 3 next week, right? Chapter 3 is a huge chapter, and there are important things that I want you to learn, like these histories that come to your diplomacy and your role, right? Thank you so much. I will say goodbye for now. Share the link, please. Share this video. Share our link. Put on your subscribe button so that when we come on, you are notified every 30 minutes before we come on. Please click those link. Click those link. Love it, share. It's so regrettable, my friend. Let me tell you the truth. It's so regrettable, my friend, that we have 600 people almost who are subscribed, and only 70 people like the videos. It's it's how can 600 people subscribe and only 70 or 60 people liking the videos? Right now, we're like, I can tell you that we're more than 200 now, but you can only see 72 people. And those of you who making comments are only people who have to subscribe. If you are listening to me, you have not subscribed, your number cannot reflect how many people online. So right now you are seeing 68 or 72 people online, but we should be up to 200 people or more viewing. But the numbers that are showing are only the people who are subscribed. So that means that our online people right now are only 68 who subscribe, but we're having more than 200 people watching us right now, and only those of you who are subscribed can make comment. If you're not subscribed, it's difficult for you to send your questions, for you to send your comment. So why can you like our videos? Why can't you subscribe? Why can't you just share the link and share the video? And why can't you just go back and watch the video after this wonderful presentation. There you'll be able to answer most of your questions. You'll be able to take notes. And if you continue to watch the video, it will be able to prepare you to pass your final exams. Because most of the thing I'm teaching you, they come in your final exams. I'm not taking your final exam from the blue sky. I'm not taking your final exam from any other material. Just the material you have in your hand and just the video that have been recorded. Go back, watch the video from start to finish. It will answer most of your questions. You will be a successful ambassador, a successful diploma. So please share, please like. Many of you are not liking. Why you want to be part of an institution, but you're not liking our products? You're not liking our videos. It's surprising to our leaders. It's surprising to me. Please do. Please like. Please share. Please subscribe and put on your buttons, your notification button. And again, if anybody inbox you and say they are inboxing you from the School of Future Diplomas and they need you to send them money and they inboxing you, it's a scam. Don't send anybody money who's going to inbox you personally. Yes, we are asking for donation if you want to donate, but please respond publicly on the platform. I want to donate to the future diplomats. You can contact me. You can contact Ambassador uh, uh, Sunday. You can contact and CC me. You can contact Ambassador David and let me know. But do not allow anybody to send you personally inbox you and say click on this link and pay a donation for your courses. That's a scam. Don't do that. Don't click on any hidden link for people for you to pay money to people. No. If anybody send you an email and say what's up me some money, that's a scam. Or or because money now can go through WhatsApp, money now can go through all the social media you can find. You know, be mindful. It's not from us. We're not going to inbox you to get any money from you. Be mindful of scams, right? If anybody tells you to pay money for this first material you are getting, no, our leaders will not do that. It become a scam. All the materials given to you during this first class, they are free. Your training, your first lesson with me today, like this, they are free. We are only asking for donation. If you can donate $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever, we will accept that. We will wholeheartedly accept that because we need to pay for a lot of things for our doors to be open, for us to provide these type of services. And I said before to you, please learn to give, learn to share, right? Do not get everything for free. Share because someone is depending on your support. This training you are getting, somebody paid for it. That's why it's free. The next batch of people who are going to come, help and pay for their own training as well. Right? Be a giver. Be a partaker of the good things that are happening around the world. Don't just sit on this fence and just be receiving from the future diplomats. It's time for you to start contributing and giving whatever you can. But thank you so much. We love you. We are glad that you came our way and we are part of this great commission together. We are changing the world and we are making a difference. I will talk to you again. Sunday, you can submit your assignment. I will extend it up to, if not, you cannot do it this Sunday. I will extend it next, I will extend it up to Tuesday, right? And because you're going to start working on week 3. So by the end of this week should be week 2. So I would say submit your assignment, your booklet, your study guide at least next not this coming Sunday, the upper Sunday. I will send it to the upper Sunday, right? That's your deadline. Please submit that. So we are giving away assignment today because I came late. Okay, if you came late, I'm not going to talk to you about assignment. Right? Bye for now. Those of you who said thank you, DG, thank you so much. I cannot submit the last assignment because my computer gave me problem. Right? If you cannot submit the assignment, you fail in the assignment. There is no excuse, no exception. If your computer gives you problem, go find somebody who have computer, go to the business center and just submit your assignment. No, if you don't submit your assignment, folks, you fail the assignment. You have to repeat. You have to do that assignment anyway to graduate and to pass the course. Every assignment that you fail, and if that assignment gives you a failing grade or your final grade, you have to complete every assignment to get your you have to pass the course to get your credential. So if you never did one assignment, and if you think it does not worth a value of your grade, it's okay, but you have to pass the course to get your credentials. There is no excuse. All right. Network is really some people can say network is bad. I cannot submit my assignment. Well, find time to do that. Submit your assignment ahead of time when you know you're having good network. There is no excuse, my friend. If you are in school, you have to submit your assignment. This is an institution. You have to do likewise. No excuse, my friend. If you know you have a bad network and you never communicated with your professor, you never communicated with the school until the assignment date has expired, then you say, oh, I never submitted my assignment because your network was bad. Come on, no, there's no excuse for that, right? This is an institution, right? We are recognized here in the United States. Remember, we are filing for accreditation with the Ministry of Education. So our records need to be up to date. Our students' information need to be up to date so we can be inspected at any time for our accreditation purposes, right? So we cannot bypass the policy or break our policy for anybody. I'm so sorry. All right, have a good night, have a good day, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye bye for now.